Okay, itutuloy na natin ang ating discussion dealing with limits of transcendental functions. So, in this video, i-discuss natin ang apat na transcendental functions. So, ang uunahin natin ay limits of exponential functions. So, the exponential functions, of course, are in the form of f of x is equal to a to the u, where u is a function of x and a is any constant greater than 0 but not equal to 1, because we know for a fact when 1 raised to a power, it will always be equal to 1, except of course when the exponent is infinity, kasi magiging indeterminate form siya. So to illustrate, let me have this example number 1. But before that, let us try to have a short review from what we have last time. We have limit of f of x as x approaches a is equal to f of a if and only if RSL, or the right-sided limit, is equal to left-sided limit. So we also know for a fact that for every exponential function, the domain is a set of all real numbers. So ibig sabihin, kung meron akong graph ng exponential function na ganito and x is equal to 0 as this example, so for right-sided limit, tinutumbok ko ang isang value, and left-sided limit, tinutumbok ko ang isang value. So ibig sabihin, pwede na natin gamitin yung f of a or function value. So to solve to that, for the limit of 5 raised to 3 minus 2x as x approaches 0, because we know for a fact that this function is defined on this value. So f of 0 is equal to limit of 5 raised to 3 minus 2x as x approaches 0. So what will we do is just substitute 3 minus twice of 0. So this gives us 5 cubed. So ibig sabihin, limit of 5 raised to 3 minus 2x as x approaches 0 is equal to 125, because 5 to the third is 125. So let us try to solve another example. So what if I have limit of 1 minus e to the minus 2x all over x as x approaches 0? So kung isa-substitute natin, magkakaroon tayo ng 1 minus e to the 0, because negative 2 times 0 is 0 over 0. And e to the 0 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0 over 0. So from the last discussion natin, hindi tayo pwedeng mag-leave ng answer in indeterminate form. So ibig sabihin, we have to make a way to solve for this. Algebraically, medyo mahihirapan tayo dito kasi ito ay naka-simplest form na. So ang gagawin natin is we can use the first method na diniscuss natin dun sa definition ng limits. We can use table of values. So if f of x is equal to 1 minus e to the minus 2x all over x, we will get values closer to x is equal to 0. So let us try to have this table. So for x is negative 0.1, negative 0.01, negative 0.001, as it gets closer to x is equal to 0. And coming from the right, 0.001, 0.01, and 0.1. So, titingnan natin kung ano yung magiging value it approach, the function approaches kapag papalapit ng papalapit sun sa ating x is equal to 0. So, let us try f of negative 0.1. So, substituting that negative 0.1 in this x and negative 0.1 in that x, that gives you this. Then, f of negative 0.1 using your calculator is 2.21403. Lagay natin siya sa table. Then, for x is equal to negative 0.01, substitute ulit natin. 1 minus e to the minus 2 times the quantity negative 0.001 all over negative 0.01. Substituting, pag ginamitan ng calcu, that gives us 2.02013. Put that in our table. The last, papunta sa 0 coming from the left is x is equal to negative 0.01. So substituting, then f of negative 0.001 is 2.002. So as it gets closer to 0, the value it approach ay 2. So yung ina-approach niya ay approximately equal to 2. Let us try to get values or function values from the right of x is equal to 0. So same principle, sa substitute lang natin, we will have this. For x is equal to 0.001, we have 1.998. For x is equal to 0.01, 1.98013. And for x is equal to 0.1, we will have 1.81269. So, pag nilagay sa table, as you notice, na habang papalapit dito sa 0, ang value na ina-approach niya ay approximately equal to 2. So, since tinutumbok ng kaliwa, ang tinutumbok ng kanan, thus we have limit of 1 minus e to the minus 2x all over x as x approaches 0 is equal to 2. That's the limits of exponential function. Let's proceed with the next. We have here limits of logarithmic functions. So again, logarithmic functions are in the form of f of x is equal to log of u to the base a, where u is a function of x and a is greater than 0 but not equal to 1. Let us try to have ln of 2x minus 3. So let us try to check first if x equal to 2 is part of this domain. So 2x minus 3 must be greater than 0, then x must be greater than 3 halves. So therefore, the domain is 3 halves comma infinity. Since x is equal to 2 belongs dito sa interval na to, so therefore we can use function value. So this is f of 2 is equal to the limit of ln of 2x minus 3 as x approaches 2. So substituting 2, we have ln of 2 times 2 minus 4. Minus 3. And 2 times 2 is equal to 4, so that gives us ln 4 minus 3. And 4 minus 3 is equal to 1, then ln of 1. So since ln of 1 is 0, then we have limit of ln of 2x minus 3 as x approaches 2 is equal to 0. So let's try another. So what if I have here limit of log of 3x minus 7 to the base 2 as x approaches 5? So again, checking whether x is equal to 5 is part of the domain. So we have 3x minus 7 greater than 0. Then 3x is greater than 7. Then x must be greater than 7/3. So magkakaroon tayo dito ng 7/3 comma 0 infinity para sa domain. And since 5 belongs to that interval, so pwede tayong gumamit ng function value. So this is log of 3 times 5 minus 7 to the base 2. So this is log of 8 to the base 2 because 3 times 5 is 15, minus 7 is 8. So to evaluate this, what must be the exponent of this base to make it 8? So therefore, we have 3. So thus, the limit as x approaches 5 of log of the quantity 3x minus 7 to the base 2 is equal to 3. So that is the limits of logarithmic functions. So let's proceed with the next one, which is the limits of the trigonometric functions. So since we have 6 trigonometric functions, sine, cosine, tangent, cotangent, secant, and cosecant functions, and we know for a fact na kapag dealing with these angles, dapat kapag gagamit ng calculator, you have to express your angle in radian, so dapat ang calculator naka-radian mode din. So kapag ang angle ay naka-express in degree, dapat ang calculator naka-degree mode din. Kasi magkakamali tayo kapag hindi mo ginawa yan. So yun lang yung usual or common. Minsan nagkakamali ang mga tayo because hindi natin nakikita yung calculator. So example number 1, we have limit of sine 2x as x approaches pi over 6. So again, ang domain ng sine function is a set of all real numbers So, ibig sabihin, x is equal to pi over 6 belongs to that domain. So, pwede tayong gumamit ng function values ulit. So, pi over 6. So, magkakaroon tayo ng sine 2 times pi over 6. So, this gives us sine pi over 3. And sine pi over 3 is sine 60 degrees. And sine 60 degrees is the square root of 3 over 2. So, therefore, limit of sine 2x as x approaches pi over 6 is equal to square root of 3 over 2. Then what if I have here limit of tangent x all over x as x approaches pi over 4? So, since ang pi over 4 is part of the domain ng tangent x, so we can use function value. So, we have pi over 4 is equal to tangent pi over 4 all over pi over 4. Pi over 4 is 45 degrees and tangent of 45 degrees is equal to 1. So that gives us 1 all over pi over 4. Then f of pi over 4 is equal to 1 divided by the pi over 4 is 1 multiplied by the reciprocal of this pi over 4, which is 4 over pi. So you can express your answer in decimals if you wanted to, but since hindi naman sinabi sa problem, so it's okay na 4 over pi yung ating answer. Then lastly, we have limits of inverse trigonometric functions. So let us try to solve a limit of arcsine 2x. So we know for a fact na kapag 2x yan, so the absolute value of that 2x is less than 1. So kasi dapat ang ating domain is from negative 1 to positive 1 lamang. So we have here 2x less than equal to 1 greater than equal to negative 1. So ang domain natin is 1/2 negative 1/2. So ang domain natin is from negative 1/2 comma positive 1/2. But since 0 is part of this domain, so pwede na tayong gumamit ng function value. F of 0 is equal to arcsine of twice of 0. And that is arcsine 0. Then f of 0 is equal to 0. So, that will be our answer there. So, last, we have limit of twice of arctangent of x as x approaches 1. So, since ang range nito ng tangent is from negative infinity to positive infinity, and since this is arctangent whose the inverse of tangent function, so therefore the domain of this function is a set of all real numbers. So, if so, 1 is part of the domain. So, therefore, we have a limit of 2 arctangent x as x approaches 1 is equal to f of 1. So substituting, we have 2 arctangent 1 is equal to f of 1. Then f of 1 is equal to twice of pi over 4. And pi over 4 times 2 is equal to pi over 2. So therefore, f of 1 is equal to pi over 2. So ayusin lang natin saglit. Okay. So we have pi over 2 as our answer. So bakit pi over 4 ito? Kasi ang tangent ng pi over 4 is equal to 1. So therefore, inverse tangent of 1 is pi over 4. So multiplying this cancels out, giving us pi over 2. So, these are the basic transcendental functions. So magkakaroon pa tayo ng special limit ng trigonometric functions sa susunod na video.